Hello and welcome to the BlockBytes segment on Giveth, brought to you by Blockchain at Berkeley. And in about 5 minutes, I'll explain the Giveth platform built for Ethereum. At its core, Giveth is a smart contract donation platform built on Ethereum. One of its professed key innovations is it's a platform for building communities around causes for change. Donors, or givers, can use the platform to lock in a donation for a purpose, and community members can vote on how resources are allocated. So here's an example. Imagine you move to a rural Alabama town and you'd like to help them set up the infrastructure. Well, you can use Giveth to create a campaign for something you want to raise money for. Campaigns in Giveth are specific projects, something like build a well for my community in Alabama. Now, in a campaign, you designate milestones that require funding and completion before you can mark the entire campaign complete. Tasks are things like drill well hole, set concrete casing, install water pump, and so forth. So also imagine there's a group of people in Northern California who really like helping rural Alabama communities, and they're called Help Alabama. So they can do all this research on which campaigns they think will best benefit small Alabama towns just as a whole, statewide, and then they can choose to fund them with their pooled DAC funds. So in this example, you've got your well campaign that you posted on Giveth, and they think, yeah, this is the best one right now. We're going to go ahead and give all of our DAC money to this campaign. But also, let's say that there's a group of people in Wisconsin who don't really feel like doing the research, but they also want to help rural Alabama communities. So they can just give their money to the Help Alabama DAC, knowing that Help Alabama DAC does good research. I trust them with my Ether, and I know that it's going to go to the best place. But then imagine there's also people in, say, Massachusetts who really don't trust the Help Alabama DAC. They don't, for one reason or another, they just don't want to give their Ether to them. They don't want to delegate it to them. So they can choose to give money directly to a campaign or directly to a milestone themselves. So the big idea with Giveth is that givers have 3 places to give. The first place are DACs, which have delegates who decide which campaigns to give money to. Next are campaigns. Givers can go around DACs and give directly to a campaign. There's no member voting or delegation involved here. Now, you support the project directly overall. And then next up are milestones. Remember, campaigns are made up of milestones, like each step along the way to fulfill a campaign. This way, givers know exactly what component of a campaign their money is going towards. One thing to note here is that after giving your money to a DAC, you can change your mind and pull your Ether out if you want to. But this kind of refunding method is not possible after donating to a campaign or donating to a milestone. Another big idea with Giveth is the decentralized altruistic community, or the DAC. Now, DACs are the most general entity in the Giveth system, and the purpose of a DAC is to unite givers around a cause and provide them with the possibility to give money to a cause without having to research the exact campaigns. And like I said before, any money donated to a DAC can be retrieved by the giver if it hasn't already been delegated to a campaign. But otherwise, the funds remain in the DAC until they're taken back by the giver or delegated to a campaign or to a milestone. And next up are milestones. These are the specific tasks that make up a campaign. And these have to be completed in order for Ether to go from a smart contract to a recipient. Now, milestones have a completion date, and if they aren't completed by that date, then the milestone is canceled, and the recipient can't use it to withdraw Ether. Now let's talk about roles in Giveth. Each DAC has one delegate, and the delegate is the one in charge of executing the transfer of funds from the DAC to the campaign. Now, when you create a campaign as a campaign manager, you designate a reviewer for the campaign and also a manager and a reviewer for each milestone. Now, these reviewers are in charge of double checking that the milestones are complete. For example, making sure that the well's electrical pump is actually connected to electricity. Managers and reviewers mark milestones as complete or cancel the milestones in case they aren't needed or have been mismanaged for some reason. Now also remember, marking a milestone complete is a requirement for a recipient to be paid Ether. And finally, there's a mandatory 3-day waiting period after which a milestone is marked complete and before the Ether is actually transferred to the recipient. If you go to alpha.giveth.io, you can get a sense of what the DApp will look like when it's fully operational. And here on the front page, you can see there's currently one DAC run by Giveth itself. If you look at the different campaigns listings, you can click on one and see how it's made up of a whole bunch of different milestones. And if you click on one of the milestones, you can see here the reviewer's name and address, and you can see the recipient who will receive the payment once the milestone is marked complete. And finally, on Giveth's Slack channel, they say that the platform won't be ready for actual fundraising until at least July 2018, and probably even later than that. So that concludes the BlockBytes segment on Giveth. Thanks for watching.